The Newton City Council passed amendments to the city's zoning ordinance with 21 yeas, 0 nays, and 3 absent, allowing craft breweries to open. Councilor Rick Lipof explains why he had chartered the item last meeting and what he accomplished because of it.
This is the brewery legislation. I chartered this because there was some discussion about parking requirements, and we also had some people missing, and we're thinking about the vote. Since that time, offline, Councilor Gentile, who expressed the need to keep the parking requirements, we had a discussion, and we talked about the potential of keeping the parking requirements, but lessening the level of need. And I will turn it over to Councilor Gentile for him to tell you what we came up with. Thank you.
Councilor Gentile, you have your hand raised, I'm assuming? Yes, you do. Please go.
So there was, with the help of the planning department, as Councilor Lipof mentioned, they had recommended a compromised parking requirement. As I understood it, it basically cut in half what had originally come out of parking. So hopefully it's somewhere in writing so that you all can see it. And I would support amending the item with these new parking requirements, approving the whole overall item, and then moving on. It would be my suggestion.
Madam Clerk, do you have?
Right, and so what we would like to do is amend it now to say 1 per 1,000, and additionally 1 per every 10 patrons for the two different the two different ones up there. And one is for on-site.
Point of order, Madam Chair.
Yes, Councilor Baker.
Just for clarification, it would be, it's hard to read that at range. If we could have clarification of what the planning department proposed originally that the committee did not agree to, and then understand.
This is the original.
I just can't read it at range. So if the clerk can put the original up there and then you can explain what you're going to do, I would be.
This is the original that we've just put up, and we're explaining what the amendment will be.
She was starting to amend it, and I couldn't read the original first. That's what I'm asking.
Okay. Okay.
Okay.
If you can make it bigger so that those of us with
Thank you.
whose vision isn't as acute as others would be grateful.
So basically, what we're doing is doubling the requirement, which is actually lessening the requirement. It's making it a little more generous, but keeping the parking requirement. Kumbaya.
So instead of 1 per every 500 square feet?
That's right. It's 1 per every 1,000.
And would you leave one per every 4 employees?
That's off-premise and on-premise. So those both are part of what was presented, and we're just doubling them.
Do you keep the 1 per every 4 employee?
Everything's doubled, so it's 5,000, 1 per 8, and then 1 per 10 patron seats, excluding any sidewalk. So it's just doubling it. The planning was good with it. Councilor Gentile was good with it. I'm fine with it. We're not going to have 1,000 of these. We're going to have a few, and we can work it through with the parking, with everything else that'll come in front of us when hopefully we'll have our first brewery.
Councilor Baker, do you have?
Just if I could, Madam President, through you to the maker and Councilor Gentile. The planning department recommended a certain number of spaces per employees, right, and numbers of square foot, and then also for the number of patrons. As I understand it, what is being proposed now by Councilor Gentile, he wants to amend his original motion. He made an original motion to support the planning department. So my understanding is that he's now going to ask to modify his original motion, and he views this as a change. So I will support the amendment of his motion. So then now we vote on his amendment, and then we vote on the main item. Is that correct?
Yes. So just to make it official, why don't we say exactly what the motion is? Councilor Gentile, do you want to state the motion?
The motion is to amend the item as submitted to the full council by the Zoning and Planning Committee. It was originally to read that the parking stalls were 1 per every 500 square feet plus 1 for every 4 employees. Again, it lessens the burden and would change that to 1 per every 1,000 square feet plus 1 per every 8 employee. And then in the second area, where it talks about on premises, and Councilor Lipof can correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe 1 per every 5 patron seats would be changed to 1 per every 10 patron seats.
That's it, as simple as that. And
It's those 3 numbers that are changing.
Yep, thank you.
Okay. So is everybody clear on what the proposal is? And
Yes.
do we have anyone that wants to speak to this amendment? Councilor Crossley, you had your hand raised earlier, but you took it down, I'm guessing?
Yes, I did.
Okay, good.
Councilor Gentile clarified everything.
Okay, good. Councilor Leary?
Thank you, Madam President. I was just wondering where the data came and about these numbers. Like, how did you decide on this number?
Councilor Lipof?
I spoke to 2 people from the planning department, talked about the situation. They originally had left it in there. They thought that it was an improvement when we got rid of the parking requirements. I said, well, there are some people that would like to keep them. Is there anything else that we can do? And they said, well, you could make it a little less onerous. It'll still trigger this coming up in front of a special permit. As I've said to everybody, we waive them always for restaurants with liquor licenses because most of them don't have on-site parking. I'm trying to give some people a level of comfort, and that's what this is about.
Okay.